one day you go and it's okay, next time you go it's not very well?
Well, I noticed everything seemed to be pretty well all right till 1968. He was in terrific health then, although I was a bit uneasy because within 6 months of his arrival in Conakry, the cook that he relied on so much and did all his food for him, which he always travelled with, Amoa, I think his name was, or Amua, I'm not sure. However, he was dead within 6 months. Yes, he was a fit man. I think he was helped on his way, to tell you the truth. But after that, Nkrumah's food was not safe, really. The various cooks came out from Conakry and so on. I can't prove any of this, but I have a strong suspicion that Nkrumah was poisoned in the end in a slow, nasty sort of way. But Amoa was probably the first casualty, I think, because he was a fit man, and then suddenly he's vomiting, he's unwell, he's taken to hospital, and they said, oh, he's got cancer, you know, and he's dead within 6 months. It was really inexplicable, but after that it was I felt very concerned, really. There was no check on his food, really. Cooks were coming up from Conakry, and of course in those days the American embassy was open. I heard since, I didn't know at the time, that one of the cooks that came had been working at the American embassy. But he was very fit till about 1968. Then I began to notice he's losing weight. Inexplicably, he seemed to be eating all right, but he wasn't so well as he had been.
So by 69, 70...
69, 70, he was losing weight, yes, and he was having stomach upsets. He never had trouble like that before.
But he was a very fit man through it.
Very fit, yes. I think that one of the Vietnamese or Chinese doctor, I think it was a Vietnamese doctor that attended him mostly when he was in Conakry, said he had the blood pressure of a young man, you know, when he was first there, but there was this rather slow deterioration, and quite noticeably about 1970 he was definitely a sick man, and he wanted to really to get a medical checkup in Moscow, because he had great faith in Russian medicine, and he didn't want obviously to go anywhere in the West. But it was the unfortunate time because the Russians were hobnobbing with the West. It was a time of détente.
Yes.
They'd opened an embassy in Nkrumah, and he was told that it would be inopportune, was the word they used, for him to travel to Moscow for a checkup. But they could recommend a very good clinic in Bucharest, and Ceausescu was there, you know, an ally really of the Russians at the time. So he went there, but by that time he was a very sick man.
So by 71 he had to check into the hospital, or
no, but in the autumn really of 1971 he went to Bucharest for a checkup, but he died there, unfortunately. Yes. Following April, he was by that time seriously ill.
So you saw him once or twice in
Bucharest?
Bucharest?
Yeah, yes, I went 3 times there actually. Yes.
And each time you saw that he was deteriorating, more or less.
Oh yes. Well, I got a terrible shock when my first visit there. But he had warned me, typical of him, he phoned up and said, we must be courageous, I'm not as you remember me. And I thought, what exactly does he mean? He's probably his hair's gone white or something. But I got a terrible shock when I saw him. He was sitting up in a chair, and his legs were terribly swollen. He said he'd been sitting there for 6 weeks because it was too painful to lie down. And he wasn't, they brought a sort of light meal, but he obviously didn't fancy any of it. And I couldn't get any sense out of the doctor there. No, they wouldn't tell me. I didn't. Well, he had a couple of Ghanaians from his entourage that went with him to Bucharest. Wonderful people. Kwame was one, What was the other one? Oh, Yamike was there as well.
Okay.
You know, his nephew that had been with him in Conakry and always travelled with him. And they said, we can't find out. They won't tell us what's wrong with him. Perhaps you can find out. So I asked if I could see the doctor in charge. You know, not in Nkrumah's presence, of course. And he said, are you his wife? And I said, no, I'm not his wife, but I'm his publisher. And I'm very concerned about, you know, his health. And so he flannelled a bit. He didn't tell me what. He said, if we'd seen him 2 years ago, maybe we could have done something, but we can't. There's nothing we can do now. So I said, well, is it cancer, you see? Because a lot of people were saying, it was in the press here that he'd got cancer. And the doctor didn't say, no, he just said, oh, why does everyone talk about cancer? But he said it's all over him. And I said, well, what is all over him? I couldn't get anything out of it. But I don't know what they made of it, but I still maintain I think he was poisoned.